Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings dear ones, I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This evening I wish to expose a very important system to you in ways we have not before. We're going to call it the beginning of the information about innate. We have given channels before, and one of them was the mysterious innate. We have given you some of the attributes about your own body, and we wish to enhance it tonight. I have been giving information to my partner, and he receives it through intuition. He's even begun to build a program around it, and yet it's never been publicly channeled. It is the integrity of the way that I work with him that says that many of these things should be put to you and given to you so that you can hear it and analyze it. At the same time, he begins to teach it, so that others will know what he knows as he begins his process as well. All that to say that, dear ones, it is time for teaching to begin, which is beyond what you've had in the past. It starts to identify and show you some of the grandness inside. Earlier today, I said I know who's here. It is a family that I speak to in the room. It is a family who listens to these channelings. And I again broach the timelessness of what we are doing. The information presented here will last a long time, and there will be those hearing it right now for the first time, and yet much time will have passed since it was given in your time. And it will be as new to them as it is to you. The energy will be just as fresh. And I say to you that in this timeless attribute of the reality that I am in, I see the potentials of all listeners forever. I know who's listening. That may be difficult for you. Dear ones, I want to tell you about a process in your body. Not only mysterious to you because it is one that does not present itself in 3D, but elusive, where you don't know how to get to it really. Not completely. And yet it belongs to you so well that it is you. And you might ask, how can something be inside me, Kryon, that I don't know about? And I will say yet again to you that you are not working at full capacity. And that this is the subject of this year. The recalibration of humanity includes an evolved spirit. And we're going to talk a little more about that in this channeling. But let us first identify innate. What makes innate so mysterious to you is that it is not a brain function. It is perhaps one of the only systems in the body that is not centralized. This is difficult. It has not been discovered. It is not known in medical science, but it has been seen over and over. What you have in DNA is very difficult to explain. The trillions of DNA molecules in your body are all in communication with each other all the time. This has to be the way of it. If you think about what DNA does, how does your body know which kind of cell it needs and where it needs it? It is innate that is responsible for that literally at birth. The DNA, you might say, is truly esoteric central control. It is the field around the trillions of pieces of DNA that knows itself as one entity. The one entity is innate. So you might say that it is the combination of the DNA cells in your body seen as one thing that is what you call smart body innate. It is decentralized. There is no one organ of the body that is responsible for innate. Every single part of the body is involved in smart body systems. You're used to finding out things through innate, with muscle testing, the kinesiology, the tapping, all of the other systems that give you what we will call smart feedback. In order to find out what the smart body wants to tell you. And those who facilitate this know that they are talking to a field in the body and not an organ, not a gland, not the brain. So the first thing we want to tell you about innate is that it is body-wide. Anything that has DNA in you, and it's usually that which you can think of perhaps a major part of you, like the heart. You feel you're talking to that, but you're not. Innate is in your toenail and in your hair. Innate is everywhere DNA is, in any form that DNA exists. It's unique and it's you. Now, I've told you that medical science has seen this, but they don't understand it. So let me give you the example. When a human being has the spinal cord severed in an accident, it is severed. We have talked about this before. Isn't it odd that it doesn't grow back? When everything else in the body is programmed to regenerate, the cells do not regenerate in a way where the nerves grow back. We have also told you there will be a time when it does, and that this is all part of the evolved human that is coming. But let us talk about the way it is now. Let us see that you know or have seen a paraplegic. A man or a woman in a chair who can move nothing but their head. Now, does it make sense to you that all of the nerves are severed in the spinal cord, and yet the things in the body that depend on the brain signals continue to work? The heart continues to beat, but you are told that the heart needs the brain to send the signals. You're told that the timing is in the brain for the signals to be in the right pattern. Digestion continues. Reproduction continues. Most of the body functions below the neck are uninterrupted, and yet the brain is not sending signals anymore. How do you explain it? Medical science actually has a word for it. And the word would indicate that something takes over innately in the body. It's innate. It is the DNA that keeps you alive. The DNA of this body actually connects with the brain, and the signals are still sent in a quantum way. Remember, the DNA field is in connection with the full body all the time, even though the spinal cord is severed. The brain continues to send the signals, the DNA field receives them and sends them to the heart, to the digestive, everything but the muscles. I ask you to look at this, and you'll know that I am right. So you have proof of this. Innate, the smart body, will keep you alive, even if the wires to the brain are severed. Innate is smart. It is why we call it the smart body. The innate is smarter than that which you will call the survival organ, which is the brain. Innate is connected to something you should know about. Innate is connected to the higher self. Innate is connected to the Akashic record of the human being, because in the DNA, those things are there. We gave you information so long ago about the layers of DNA, and now we're telling you that there is a cumulative DNA consciousness in its field called innate. It's time for you to think of your DNA as one thing, not trillions of things. Science does not even acknowledge that DNA can communicate with itself. And yet it has to, in order for you to work the way you work. The beauty of what we're teaching is this, is that the corporeal body, the one that the brain controls, is beginning to build a bridge to innate. And this bridge is going to be through intuition, and will create eventually a time where you will be your own medical intuitive, where you will know not only what is going into your body and what is going on in your body, but also what's going on in your Akash. I have 3 things I want to describe to you today. None of them are a review. Not really. They're a revelation. I want to tell you what innate does, and I want to tell you that innate has programming. Innate is programmed for something you should know. Whereas the human brain is programmed for corporeal survival, innate is programmed for spiritual survival. You might ask, what is the mandate? What is the prime directive, if you want to use that terminology, for the human soul? Why are you here? Your brain keeps you alive, dear ones. It helps you with everyday existence. It tries to keep you safe. It remembers what doesn't work day to day, corporally. But innate, I want you to think for a moment about what innate knows. Innate knows what the ancients knew. How long humanity had on this planet before it would have to make a decision. Innate knows that. Your DNA knows that. What is the prime directive of innate? To do everything it can for you to allow an awakening to take place, to allow humanity to go across the bridge and move into an ascended planet status. That is the prime directive. Spiritual survival, everything is designed around that. To push you forward in any way possible into spiritual awareness. That is what innate is for. In the process, innate also crosses the bridge with corporeal chemistry. in very, very different ways. Innate is responsible for spontaneous remission. You want to know where that comes from? How can you have a disease disappear overnight? How is it possible that the corporeal body can react and cleanse itself of something so unbalanced overnight? How can tissue grow at an accelerated rate to give healing overnight? I have just given you things that the hospitals have seen over and over. They have x-rayed them. There is no way, they would say. And yet it is a miracle. No, it isn't. It's innate. That's the power that you have. When innate finally starts to build the bridge to the corporeal self, the human being as you know it will disappear. And the one that takes its place will have a long life, able to repair itself, even grow limbs back. That is how it was designed, dear ones. That should make sense to you. But let's talk about it today. Kryon Book 1. All those years ago, I talked about something that innate is responsible for. I said it's time to drop your karma. Where is karma stored? It is a result of past life experience pulled forward through the veil into a reincarnate body. It is an energy of unfinished business. That's karma. It's in the DNA, and innate governs it. And so, when we said it's time to drop your karma, how did we say to do it? You must talk to your body, talk to your cells, and say, I am done with the energy of the past, I drop the karma, I move forward. These were the first instructions you ever had from me about a process that crosses the bridge from the corporeal self to the innate. Pure intent. You address your body in a way that is so pure that the body sees it and acts. And that is how karma is dropped. Now I want you to see what was not stated. Would it make sense to you that as you come into an energy as an old soul where karma is no longer needed, wouldn't the smart body innate drop it by itself? And the answer is no. Now listen, because this is the teaching of the day. You see, innate, as smart as it is also programmed. And it's programmed in a survival for spiritual self. And karma has always played a part in that. You have got to deprogram innate. It has a bias. It's been doing this as long as you've been a human. It was designed to do certain things in a certain way, and consciousness is the key to change it. It always was. It always will be. Your free choice is needed to deprogram what I will call the instruction sets of innate. So dropping your karma was the first instruction we ever gave you. Now there's more. And it gets more complicated. Innate is programmed to try to keep you into spiritual survival, and there is an older system in innate that it still has, and you've got to deprogram it. This reprogramming, you might say, through consciousness is not hard. Your consciousness, through pure intent, is king. You've always known you can change your chemistry, heal your body. Talking to innate is the key. How would you like to trigger your own spontaneous remission? Think about that. You can do it. This is the next step, dear ones. Talking to a cellular structure and controlling your chemistry is one thing. Controlling innate is another. It's you. You have permission. We told you some things in a channeling recently. We told you that affirmations are important. Now, affirmations are not repetitive phrases of meaningless consequence. And you know the difference. If you've memorized things that people told you to memorize, and mindlessly you repeat them over and over in order to accomplish a certain number of times, nobody is listening. Nobody. Because it is not seen as anything but verbose conversation with yourself. That's it. Consciousness that is focused is pure intent. You mean it. Affirmations, especially the ones you create yourself out of your own consciousness, put to your body on a regular time schedule on purpose. You have an appointment with your innate and you're going to talk to it, and here is the affirmation. And that is the way it works. You must talk to your innate as your best friend, as a human being sitting in front of you, and you're going to have a conversation. Would you then just repeat things over and over to another person? And the answer is no. You'd give them the credibility of intelligence to listen. That is the credibility you must have with innate. Innate is your smart body. And it's time for you to reprogram what it thinks is your spiritual survival, because innate has not crossed that marker with you. Your consciousness has crossed into this new energy, and now it's time for you to reprogram everything. Recalibration, dear ones, is not automatic. Old soul, there are a few things you should know. Do you find it interesting that innate knows all about your past lives, but you don't? How is that for a system? How would you like to know more? What is it that you have in your past lives that you could use today? We've talked about this. Mining the Akash is done through free choice of consciousness talking to your innate. Muscle testing, yes. Tapping, body talk, affirmations, whatever you can do that circumvents the corporeal logic of the human brain will work for innate. You have got to think different. You are used to quantity, repetition, loudness, perhaps. You're used to linear concepts to change things within you. Allopathic, no. Homeopathy counts on innate to work. Did you know that? A tincture sends a signal to the smart body to make the changes that the tincture has intent for. That's the reason for homeopathy remedies. They're designed specifically to send a signal to innate. Do they work? Oh, yes. You see, there's a whole concept of who you are that lurks in a place that we're asking you to connect to. If you connect to innate, you can start finding out about who you used to be. Innate will give you what you need to know because it's smart. You can ask innate who you were in a past life, and it will not tell you if it is not important for your spiritual survival. But it will give you karma to push you into areas that it thinks you need for spiritual survival. So let us talk about what you have to reprogram, which is the biggest issue of innate. Number one, drop your karma. We say it again. That is number one. What is it that continues to push you around, dear ones, that is the Achilles heel of your personality? What is it that is there that you just don't understand why it's there? I'll tell you, it's the energy of the past. Get rid of it. Innate will do what you tell it. If it sees that which is spiritual logic, and it will, because this channel, innate is listening to, along with you. You are the consciousness trigger to change your own innate. What is it that innate is built to do that makes no sense at all? And I'm going to tell you right now, with everyone listening. Dear ones, there is a system called reincarnation that is the engine at the moment for spiritual advancement on the planet. You live a lifetime, you learn certain things, and you die. You are reborn into the planet, and in your DNA, Akash, or I'll say the well of wisdom, it is there. And it presses upon you, so you will not necessarily do the same thing again. An old soul knows better in so many things that a new soul does not. You see newbies on the planet, and they can't make heads or tails out of anything. You've been there and done that. Every single lifetime builds a library of wisdom. As you sit in the chair today, you know you're an old soul. You do. Now, here is what innate has learned the system requires. Are you ready? Death. In order for you to graduate and pick up the wisdom and move forward into a higher spiritual consciousness, potentially in the next life, whether you do it or not, the potential only exists with death and rebirth. Are you starting to see where this is going? Innate, on purpose, will give you short lifetimes. What a system. Suddenly, you pass the marker. You come to a place where the Pleiadians knew you would be. You have the ability for the first time to do what we saw you could do 25 years ago when I came to this planet in my partner and wondered whether his stubbornness would ever allow a message like this. I want all of you to start telling innate that you don't need to die in order to capture the ideas that you are being given now of an advanced spiritual thought. That in the same lifetime that you live without death, you now have the ability of capturing wisdom and moving forward. You don't need to die. You don't need to reincarnate. You can do it by yourself. You have that in your DNA. It's starting to increase. By the time you get to 36, do the numerology. It's done. You now have the ability to stay. Innate doesn't know that. Thousands of years. It has been progressing your spiritual growth by short lifetimes. I hope my partner is understanding this, giving you this in a way you can see. What if you didn't have to do this way? Innate needs to know it. Longer lifetimes are the key. Doesn't it make sense, dear ones, logically to you, that you can accomplish more on this planet if you don't have to be reborn and grow up all over again? Stay. Some of you carry around what we will call a near-death experience potential. Now, this is a time when perhaps the karmic part of you saw your death. The potential exists for a synchronicity that pushes you right into what innate thinks you need. Time for completion. Because you need to be reborn and get on with it, because that's the only engine it has ever known for you to carry the wisdom over the veil. And now, as you start to touch the higher self, you can bring it into your current lifetime. You can have the aha experience. Some of you can be brought to your knees and come out with a completely different personality. And it's happened to those who are listening to this right now. Who were you 15 years ago? Are you the same one? You think the same way, you do the same things. There are many on this earth who will say, yes, I'm the same person. Of course I am. That's the way I was born. Not you. Because you know you've changed your personality. You've changed your human nature. You've even changed your corporeal structure. There are those in here who have stopped aging. That's what this is about. The key to stopping the aging process as you know it today is by communicating to the innate and saying you don't have to die to have a spiritual growth. And you can do that any way you want. Learn how to build affirmations that are positive. Get in touch with the body through whatever process starts to come your way, where you can communicate, and you know you are, to that smart body. And let me tell you, you don't have to convince it. It knows it. As soon as it sees the progress that you have made in your consciousness, it's a done deal. Did you hear that? Innate knows who you are. It's the smart body. It wants to cooperate. As soon as it sees a new avenue of spiritual evolution, you may live a lot longer than you want to. So that's the next thing. Stay healthy while you don't age. Is it complicated? No. Is it filled with love? Yes. Is it new? Yes. I just gave you an attribute I have never been able to give humanity, and you heard it for the first time tonight. And you had to cross the veil to get this, that veil of the 2012 energy in past 2013 into 2014. I knew I could do it this year. It's time you knew the truth, that you're in control of even time on this planet. That's how powerful you are. You're going to see it. And then you'll believe it. Not all of you are able to do it with the same strength. That's because each of you are individuals. Dear ones, I know who you are. The old souls of this planet awake. Awaken to the new processes of a new kind of life. And in the process, don't be afraid of what you see around you. Because there will be those who don't agree, who can't do it, who don't understand it. Sometimes the difference that you are will frighten them. Not forever. Because there'll come a time when all humanity will know what I'm teaching tonight. And so it is. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings dear ones, I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The process seems like a smooth one. My partner does not prepare for channeling. And that is because some time ago, I gave him the information that at the cellular structure he could always be prepared. In his daily life as he walked around, that which he calls channeling, which is connection to the higher self, could be with him 24/7. There are those who would see the process and say it is not accurate and is not true because the channeler doesn't prepare. He doesn't face the right direction. He doesn't breathe correctly. He doesn't give time for the negativity to move away. And I will tell you that all of those things were accurate at one time, but now they're not. The paradigm of energy is changing. The relationship between you and the Creator is changing. This is something that has happened only because of what humanity has done. I want to review yet again for those who perhaps are just listening to this at the same or first time. My partner doesn't understand this, but I see those who are listening for the first time. It's not in your time. Dear ones, in an energy that we come with and from, there is no time. We see that which is potential. We see those who are listening for the first time. For you, it would be later. For me, it is now. I see you there, dear one. The energy of this planet has changed greatly in the last decade. Energy changes slowly. Civilization of humanity still has complete and total free choice. The speed at which things occur will be completely and totally dependent on the free choice of the individuals, both light and dark. One of the attributes we have told you before is that the old souls, if they go into fear and despondency, it's going to take a lot longer. But it's still going to turn around. There will be those who would listen to this perhaps 30 to 40 years from now. But this particular message will be indeed preserved in ways that you cannot even fathom at the moment. Some of you will carry it around inside you. I cannot even describe the way that will happen. And when you hear the words, then you will know I am correct, that things happen slowly, but they happen. Consciousness is starting to evolve. Now, one of the things we have told you about that is that consciousness is beginning to split. That is to say, the darks are becoming darker and the lights are becoming lighter. The line is being drawn in the sand of consciousness for this civilization and which side you're going to be on. And this has stirred up both sides, actually. Those who existed in the dark and forever controlled things out of sight and had many names that you called them and you knew about them. Illuminati was one. All of these kinds of things are coming to a close because there is light happening on the planet more than they thought. Literally conscious decisions of integrity starting to force them out of the place they have had for hundreds of years. They're fighting for their lives. And this is what you see on your news. Now, that's a review. It has to do with energy. So I want you to connect the dots as we give you this message and this channeling today, for we're going to do it methodically, showing you some things perhaps you had not thought of before. The question is this: does consciousness have energy? Do thoughts have energy? We have told you before they do. And there is a great deal of proof of this that you never even think of. Your best minds know that it is so, but cannot measure it. So the energy of consciousness becomes an elusive idea instead of a measurement in physics. We have also told you that there will come a day when you can totally measure this in physics, and it will have mathematics involved. When you're able to see quantum fields, you will be able to see that which is invisible today. You do not know what you do not know. Consciousness has physics, energy that you can call upon and measure. And right now to you it's elusive how to do this. And I want you to connect the dots and listen. You experience it all the time, dear ones. All the time. When you sit down in a movie theater next to somebody and you feel something and you move. And someone will say, well, we were just sitting down, everything was fine, and you want to move? And you'll say, yes, because the stranger next to me is unbalanced or perhaps has a disease. I can't tell, I just don't feel right about it. And this has happened to many of you who are sensitive, and I ask you, what is it? There's an energy that was broadcast to your innate that said, move. And you did. This is energy. This is not something elusive that we can talk about. You moved because you felt something. That is very 3D. And you watched the film from another perspective. There are those in the room who have crashed their computer because they're having a bad day. And you know who I'm talking about. Now I'm going to ask you, how? Consciousness? Anger? Frustration? Disappointment? Fear? Created an energy that was so great and so dramatic that it actually upset the electronic path of circuitry. Make it worse, you turn it on again, it happened again. Some of you were so aware of it, you had to leave and come back. There are those, and I'm not going to name them, listening to this channel that are aware that they have actually put out light bulbs because of their thoughts. They didn't explode, they simply stopped. There are those in the room, including one who sits in the chair in front of you, who has an attribute who drains batteries. What is that? I want you to connect the dots. This is consciousness over matter. It is real. You can see it. You don't know what it is. You can't measure it. There's no way for you to prove it, because it only happens occasionally and when you don't expect it. But dear ones, this is a fact. You have seen it over and over. Your consciousness changes some physics. I'll hold that thought. I would like to discuss innate one more time. And what I wish to do now is to enhance what I have discussed already. Innate is the smart body of the human being. Every single human being has what we will call several layers of body consciousness. Now, at a human being working at approximately 34% of the DNA efficiency, there is a missing bridge, as we have told you, between your human consciousness and the innate inside you. Here's what we want to tell you and remind you about. That innate is responsible for that which is health inside you, spiritual evolution inside you. And you may tap, and you may decode, and you may muscle test in order to find out or to alter it, and it will be susceptible to all of those. But dear ones, you don't have the bridge. Not really. It's missing right now. And what this means, and we have not said before, is that innate is a closed system. It has no idea about the outside. It knows about the inside. Innate doesn't know who your friends are, doesn't know what you do for a living, doesn't understand, for instance, if you're in love or not, and what has happened with your chemistry. It simply reacts and helps. Innate is benevolent. I should say that 3 more times, just so you know. It stands there ready to help you. In whatever way, in whatever instructions you give, innate is there. But it is in the dark, in that it does not know what's on the outside. That is a human being who is not working at a good percentage, but that's who you are at the moment. Therefore, from the very beginning, we have said, talk to yourselves. In the first messages of Kryon, we said, talk to yourselves. Because innate is listening to what you say. We gave the indication that there is energy when you speak out loud. This is a bridge you haven't thought of. The bridge is this. When you speak in the open air, your ears hear it. The vibrations in the air from your vocal cords, which is coming from your consciousness, and the statements thereof go into your brain. Now you're inside because you heard your own words. Inside your brain, that is where the blood is flowing. Innate is there, and it listens and it knows. Finally, communication. Talk to yourselves. Now, everything we've said so far, we've said before. Connect the dots to where we're going. Dear one, in this energy, everything is being amplified. The old soul is ripe for change. We have given you over and over messages about change. We've told you about the new normal. But now we're going to give you information about creating reality. Some of you have heard before the term, you can create your own reality. It's interesting what human beings do. There is full and complete belief that your thoughts can do something. And yet, you don't practice it. Now, in some ways, you do. Let me review one of the perceptions that you have. You'll get together and meditate. And often you will meditate for things about the planet. Creating love where there isn't. Some of you will actually go into prayer groups. And you will pray for those who are less fortunate. Now, I want to ask you a question. If you participate in any of this, let me ask you this question. What are you doing? Now, there are those who will say, well, we're beseeching God for intervention. Dear God, we need rain. Please do it for us. Dear God, those people need help. Please help them. This is an energy, dear one, that is a bit misdirected. Because inside you is God. What you're really doing when you do that is exercising your own creative power that you don't know you have to create synchronicity in places you may never visit. And this is the beauty of who you are. An old soul has so much power, and I'm going to use the word power. When 2 or more are gathered with this kind of power, you actually can skew the curve of reality in the areas that you're looking at and asking about, if you say it right. I give you a challenge. Have a prayer meeting where you verbalize affirmations that are positive together, verbally, and see what happens. And you don't pray, and you don't hope, and you don't wish, and you don't ask. Instead, you are, and it is. I am. The affirmations must be positive, and they must be as though they are already in place and you're stating that they are. You get together and you meditate to change the weather because you need rain. I want to tell you what the ancients have done. You've heard of the rain dances. And you will think, well, they're now praying to the rain god, whoever that is, to bring them rain. If you take a look at what they're doing, there's actually metaphors where it's already raining. And by the way, that's where the rain stick came from. Where they actually create the sound of rain because they know they are creating it. Because they are connected to the earth, and their ancestors are connected to the earth, and they are part of the system. They are entitled, therefore, to create the rain. They're not asking the gods for it. I didn't know if you knew that or not. It's time for you to rediscover some ancient information, and I'm now going to give it to you. It's the third point. It's the point that my partner was making on the screen today when I told him to pass up some of the information so we could give it to you more completely. Now, there are many listening to this, far more than those in the room, who have never been to a presentation of my partner's and do not know what we're going to talk about. So those in the room already have an inkling of what we're going to call busting the average. Dear ones, you live and die by the bell-shaped curve. In physics, you learn that there are ways that create average. When you roll dice, you get average. Human beings create average. In the bell-shaped curve, when you look at humanity, some will be very smart, some will not be, some will be average. As my partner said, and I'll use his terminology, if you had a curve of those who catch a certain disease, it'll be bell-shaped. The average number of people. Some will catch it all the time, some will never catch it, and there will be an average, the bell-shaped curve. It also is what you've been trained for. It also affects your thinking every single day. Now, I just got through telling you that innate is listening more now than ever before. I also got through telling you that innate is a closed system. It doesn't know about where you are or what you're doing, only that which is inside, and it listens for instructions. Now here is a missing piece that you need to know. Innate is also connected to the higher self in a very specific way, not completely, or it would know what was around you. But the creative source, the benevolence in the human body, is connected to innate. It is also connected to your consciousness in a way that gives you, are you ready, intuition. Therefore, what you say to innate will also control intuitive thought. Now listen, and this will start to make sense to you. Whatever you do in the world, wherever you go, you are structured by what you expect. And humanity expects average. How many of you have said, I knew that would happen? What have you just told innate? You don't have a chance. You're average. You knew it in advance, didn't you? That you couldn't make it. It wouldn't happen. I knew that would happen. That is a statement that goes right into your body. And trillions of times in your DNA, you can hear it over and over. He knew that would happen. She knew that would happen. What can we do so that it will never happen? Innate is not connected to what is happening on the outside. It wants to help you by what you state. You're looking for a job. There are other applicants. Too many. You've got a self-worth issue. You speak it out loud. I don't have much of a chance, but I'll try. echoed millions of times. She doesn't have a chance, but she'll try. And you try and you don't make it. I knew that would happen. Now let me show you something. You can apply an energy of consciousness to the average curve and take it out of average, and others will call it being lucky. When you start affirming, I'm getting the job. I see myself there already. I am the job. Thank you, Spirit, for the job. Innate sees it and starts working with your intuition. And the intuition then creates synchronicity for you to be in the right place at the right time in order for things to happen. Perhaps not to get that job, but to get one that is even better you didn't even know existed. This is synchronicity, dear ones. Outside of the bell-shaped curve, outside of the average, you are really lucky. I just gave you the explanation of creating your own reality. And it has to do with what you speak out loud. Some of you have a habit of self-deprecation. Somebody gives you a gift. Oh, I didn't deserve it. Oh, thank you, but really you didn't have to. She doesn't deserve it. She didn't have to. Okay, nobody should give her a gift. Let's enhance that. She's not worthy. Okay, she's not worthy. Let's make her less worthy. She likes that. You think it's funny, don't you? My partner showed you the illustration of the hypochondriac who catches everything they're worried about. This is the innate working the best they can to interpret what a human being concentrates on. If you concentrate on disease, whether it's in fear or whatever, innate sees it as your desire and tries to give you what you're concentrating on. You watch the news. What are you concentrating on? Fear, worry, anxiety, because of what's happening on the planet. Let me give you an option, dear ones. If that's what happens to you and it affects you at all emotionally, if you have anything to say about it to others, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that, you would be far better to turn it off. Turn it off. And then you would say, well, Kryon, then I would be misinformed. Not really. Dear ones, you carry light for this planet. And the very light that you carry for the planet is going to affect the news someday. And you don't have to tune in and worry about it and experience fear and shorten your life and tell innate that this is what you're worried about. Innate will help you create synchronicity. There are those in this room who did not plan on being here yesterday. I know who's here. And now you are. Maybe this was for you. You honored synchronicity and you came. There are those who decided at the last moment that they wanted to be here. And you're here. You are plugging in to the system that we have described before, that is not linear, not logical, and based only on intuition on which way to turn, left or right. When you start affirmations, when you start describing who you are in the terminology of the I am healthy. And people hear you say that and they say, well, wait a minute, you're not healthy. You got a disease. How can you say I am healthy? What you are doing is affirming the future. And Nate hears it and starts to work. The process of tapping, the process of decoding, the process of kinesiology and body talk are all ways of discussing what you are with innate. Not what you want, not what you wish for, but who you are. And these things then start to take hold and the chemistry of your body starts to shift. Your intuition starts to then shift to give you what you ask for. And it is unlimited in what you can do. Dear ones, how do I tell you this? You are not a slave to the bell-shaped curve. In gambling, you have the dice and you roll it, and you look for chance, and you look for the few times it's going to land correctly. If you apply that to this system, understand that the dice are you. You are in control of the dice. It's not for others, it's for you. You are enabled to change your dice. So load the dice so it'll always come up right. This is what we're talking about. How do you do it? Through conscious thought, through affirmations, through literally talking to yourself, watching what you say. When you approach a situation, you're looking for a new place to live, and you see, against all odds, you can't afford this or whatever. What goes through your mind? What you've been taught? I'll never make it. I can't go there. I can't afford this. All of those things, innate hears. The synchronicity then, you don't have any because you gave up before you started. You're going to be average. It won't happen. Dear ones, I want to tell you, old souls have an advantage. You've been there and you've done that, and you're balanced enough to see what I'm talking about. I want you to start practicing this, and you'll see it works. Affirmations, especially that, speaking out loud who you are, not what you want, not what you wish for, who you are. I'm going to get this job. I am this job. It is me. Your innate hears it. The intuition starts to work. Now let us be clear, the intuition is a part of the higher self. It has a bigger picture. It knows what's around you. It steers you to the right place. Innate may not, but the higher self does, and they're connected. This is difficult. It is difficult because you want to compartmentalize everything. And there'll be questions later, yeah, but if this is this way, how does this know? You have to release this, dear ones. Outside of human linear logic, these things work. I close with this. God loves you. I think you know that. But you have free choice. You have free choice not to love God back. You have free choice to stay in your box and only love God through a straw. Create a little hole and let some of the love seep in while you stay in your box because you're a practical person. Or you can shatter the box completely and let God into your life. And when you do that, the peace of God that is yours and always was, the mastery within comes alive. It starts to change a life completely automatically. We have discussed this perhaps too many times, but this is the way it works. You can control your reality by what you say and how you think. And when you do, dear human being, I promise you others will notice. They're stuck in average and you're not, then you become lucky. You get the parking spaces. You don't catch the diseases. You get the good jobs. Good things happen to you. I want to make this clear to anybody who's listening, that every single human being on the planet has this ability. You don't have to end up with humanity in a bell-shaped curve. The curve will look odd, but all of you can be in the 80%, even the 90%. This is your legacy. As humans on the planet, in an age where we are able to tell you, and you can hear it and act on it, you can change yourself. Don't buy in to being average. Don't buy in to the things that you don't expect because they won't happen because you knew that would happen. This is a different way of thinking, a different paradigm. Connect the dots. We just showed you that consciousness has power and its energy, so use it. Go use it. Let no one leave this room average, for you can control who you are. More than your legacy, you're right. and in an energy that is listening more than it ever has. Be careful what you say. Do you accidentally demean others? Sometimes when you're frustrated, do you complain? All of these things are heard by innate. It becomes who you are. And you become less than the mastery inside. This is the message for the evening, dear ones. It's a glorious message, enhancing the abilities and the splendor of the human consciousness which we see developing. There is hope over the horizon. Do not count the days, for that is not the plan. Every single day of your life, be 100%. That is the light that this planet needs now. I am Kryon, in love with humanity, and rightfully so. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
So, again, another day of beautiful teachings. Relax where you are. Make yourself comfortable as you need. You may even feel closing your eyes is helpful. And take a slow, gentle, loving breath, nourishing your entire body, every cell of your being. Gently, softly, gently, softly, dropping in even deeper into that core, into the heart, into your soul. Breathe. And prepare yourself more with a soft but very strong foundation, energetic foundation, empowering foundation for yourself to absorb more, to assimilate more, to integrate, to merge even more with your divinity. In this group layer of today, the human divine group that live within you in your multi-dimensional layers, expanding more your knowledge and understanding and wisdom and love. Breathe. And feel more of that beautiful, soft, loving energy that comes from within you, from your soul, with all the information that you receive, either energetically, or mentally, or emotionally, spiritually, all of them together, merging from other sources and from within you. Elevating you to a higher space of light, of the powerful soul that you are, of the great I Am that you are, that has no beginning and no end. Breathe. And let us open once again our heart, our mind, our soul, and our multidimensional reality to the multidimensional energy, wisdom, and love from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This channel, again, is in coordination with the teaching. And the teaching of this day, for those of you who are here for the class, will be profound. Class 2 is not quite as Class 1 was. For now we start to see the esoterics of the beauty and majesty of human DNA. You cannot look at DNA anymore as the chemical tree of life. From this particular class forward, all that you will see and hear are concepts. You have to turn a page of your reality, you might say, into an area which now is multidimensional. You're going to hear that term. You're going to also be aware of the discussion, suddenly, of esoteric things. The tree of life, as discussed yesterday, the biological layer, filled with magic indeed, communication, receptivity, all of those things being a transmitter and a receiver for what? And the answer is for all the other things that you're about to learn. Residing in the DNA are multidimensional energies that belong to you. The you that is divine, the you that is the soul, the you whose name you don't even know. We've said it many times. Is it possible that as you stand there or sit there and see yourself perhaps even in the mirror, that there is a lineage and a history that is profound that you're really not aware of? What if, as you stand there or sit there or look at yourself in the mirror, there is an entourage around you that you're not aware of? All of this is true, dear ones. It's part of the plan. It's almost like you are plucked from a beautiful, magnificent garden in color and put into a black and white desert called the planet Earth. That is a metaphor for the shift of dimensions that you go through when you get here. And there's so much you are not aware of. It's like a veil is there hiding all the things that are truly you. Walking on this planet as a soul, only a fraction of you is there. That is the biological you. And yet, behind that veil, it's all there. Most humanity says, well, the veil is somewhere else. And we will see that veil and we will go beyond that veil in death. And this is the concept and always has been. What if, dear ones, that veil belonged to you? The veil is a metaphor of an exposure to that which is hidden and available all the time. The masters of this planet taught that very thing. That if you understand and know things about that which is your majesty, about that which you can control that you didn't think you could, all things become possible. The masters who walked the planet, so many of them seem to do so many miraculous things. Many of them, not just one. Imagine a master who could live 900 years or more. That's a gift. It's a gift of understanding and knowing that the biology is totally controllable. The other masters imagine creating things out of nothing. Imagine the healing properties of others. What if every single one of these was available to all humanity? The masters who walked this planet told you it was. In so many times, in so many hidden metaphors, they told you it was. So many of them says, as you see me, you are. This has been the message over and over to humanity, who often sits there and doesn't understand that. I'm here to tell you, you are at the cusp of understanding that. A journey, perhaps, into your soul. That is what is in your DNA. But more. That veil that we talk about is truly something that is perceived. It is not something that exists somewhere else after you die. It lives within you, that veil. It is liftable by consciousness, awareness, aha experiences. Your DNA contains multidimensional energies, and that means it's not localized to your body. Kryon, what are you talking about? Our DNA is in our body. Yes, it is indeed. If you have a television transmitter and you're sitting at home watching your television set, where is the picture? And you'll say, it's in my television set. No, it is not. It's at the transmitter. Or is it in the receiver? You see, when you get to a multidimensional area of thinking and perception, linear things start to disappear. The DNA is carried in your body as a receiver and a transmitter for multidimensional parts and pieces, including your guides and your angels, your reality, the veil itself, your awareness, and more. The study today is in the human divine layers. The study is something that is difficult for many, because you have to understand some premises before you get that which is cognizing the facts. The class today will begin in a moment. We tell you these things. There are those who listen to this channel who will not be seeing the class. I say to them, there is so much more, dear ones, than you know. And so much of it is in the majesty of your own chemistry. That's what these classes are about. When this class begins, I will tell you this. You may have to listen many times to what the teachers are giving you. You may have to read it in some of the periodicals and some of the publishing that is available to you. But it goes in quite often in piecemeal, because you're not designed to understand multidimensional things. You're designed to get pieces and parts in a way that there would be an aha experience when you see the circle of the way they've put together. This is the way you learn, dear ones. You know it from school. When you're given concepts over and over in one day, they snap together and you say, now I understand. So it is the same here. I would like today to begin with the understanding that this class, number 2 of 4, is the beginning of the magic. And so it is.
Well, welcome back, everyone, from the break. I hope you've had time to kind of assimilate some of the information we've been presenting. Lee, I believe we keep expanding our knowledge more and more.
I think that's normal with the teachers, that any teachers, in fact, in metaphysics, will tell you the same thing, that they have aha experiences even if they teach.
And I think it's our collective soul group that has gathered to hear this information. That's what we also feel. So we're going to move into a channel from Kryon, and to help us prepare for that, I have some affirmations where we can address the DNA layers that we spent time teaching today. And so I invite you to close your eyes, and you may wish to place a hand on your heart as I say these affirmations. Dear layers 4 and 5, my angelic name, Dear guides and angels inside, dear guides and angels outside, come closer, come closer, come closer. I give permission for a meld with my guides and angels. I rejoice in my connection and the elevated consciousness I carry. Dear Layer 6, my higher self is the portal of communication to the God within me. I am God and shall be forever. And I invite you to gently place your hands now on your lap. And from this energetic posture, we invite the beautiful, loving messages from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is the concluding channel for a class called Class 2 of the 12 Layers of DNA Explanation. I give you this because there are those who will hear this channel who have not heard anything prior. But the channel can stand alone because it responds to the information which all can know. Even those who didn't take the class can know. Because it is a common experience with so many humans that they can feel so much more than that which they were told a simple biological body can experience. There are those who will then go perhaps into that euphoria of spiritual awareness. Some have called it even an out-of-body experience when you somehow go beyond that which your brain then can give you, according to that which is chemical or that which is synapse. There are those who have gone beyond it. But then there are those who have glimpsed it in all of its glory and its magnificence. I speak to those who have had a peek behind the curtain. There is an entire lineage of events and books and experiences around near death. It's an expression that many have used for having clinically died on the planet, whether it's in a hospital or not. And so many of these experiences are related to you in all languages as the same. Something happens, something that is unique to the human experience, because you are the ones with the souls. And they tell a story that you cannot fathom. Those who have spent a little time in that tunnel going toward that light, it's not just a cliche, dear ones. That is what happens. But so many of them got to the end of that tunnel, and we're about to open the door, which all of you would call end of life, death. And instead of what they were told they would get or receive at that point in time by any leaders on this planet who were supposed to be those with spiritual information, instead of that, they got something they didn't expect for a moment or two, and that's all it took. They opened the door and then have a revelation of what was there. And the revelation that they received was not in 3D. They could write books, but it still wouldn't be the revelation, because all that was them at that moment was sucked into love, became love. Compassion flowed both ways into every single piece of DNA in their body, every single cell. They were overwhelmed, overcome, and in that brief moment they saw a truth that they can't even explain. A truth that's beyond explanation, because they saw things you don't know are even there. They saw a grandness, they saw a plan. They saw everyone who ever existed on this planet that they ever knew or loved or lost. They saw themselves in many different ways. They saw smiles, they saw joy, they saw light, they heard their name, and the door slammed shut. And they come back to an operating room, or lying on a table, or lying on a floor, or anything else, and they open their eyes, and the first thing they say is, why didn't you leave me alone and let me go? You see, they saw the soul. They saw what is hiding that we teach. The 12 layers of DNA study starts to linearize everything I've said to you, so that you can take a peek at what might be inside you in 12 layers that we have put together as the names of God, to give you the impression right away that you're studying that which is the Creator. There have been criticisms of what we channel, of what I teach, that say, how dare any human being say, I am God? How blasphemous is this? How stupid and silly is this? And they would share that with the doctrines that they have, and they'd all laugh out loud and say, well, those people are crazy, until they have a near-death experience and they open the door and they know it's right. You see, the Creator is inside you. It doesn't mean you are the Creator. It means that made in His image is literal. The image is God. You're made in the image of God, which is love and compassion and benevolence. You're made in the image of that Creator. That's what it means. It means that God is inside. You are a piece of the Creator. You can say, I am God. And that is not blasphemous. That is magnificent. And it starts to reveal a grander truth, that maybe, just maybe, there's so much more than what you think. Maybe, just maybe, there's hope where you didn't think there was hope before. Maybe, just maybe, that there is no judgment for you, no matter what you have done, only love. Maybe there is a grander plan that includes you, your life, your name, in a way that is so much more loving than anyone ever told you. Maybe you can pick yourself up, no matter what you've done, what's happened to you, where you are, and understand this is simply a piece and a part of something grander, dear ones, that you are. That angelic name that was studied today, that took two layers of the 12 of DNA to teach, that angelic name is celebrated all through the universe. Did you know that? All of you are, because you are a piece of the whole of the Creator. I hope you can wrap your consciousness around this concept, that it's so much larger than any doctrine on the earth or rules that you have, that it's not another doctrine, it's not another religion. It becomes the truth. The truth encompasses love and compassion, a reason for being, a part of all things that exist, an interconnection with all the energies of humanity and the earth, all that is on the other side of the veil, or that you see in the stars. That is in your name. Think about that one. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. my partner steps aside, the term that I have used for a long time. It would seem repetitious to some to explain yet again what this is about, but there are those who need to hear it, perhaps for the first time. Channeling is not a takeover of the human being. It's a meld. And the meld is something that is not that unusual, not really. It involves what you already have activated to its fullest level. It involves what you already have activated to its fullest level. Now I'm going to get there yet again in a moment and bring this full circle. Channeling is not odd and unusual. It's just odd and unusual to you. Because a society that has its DNA only working at a fraction of its full potential will not be able to see beyond itself. You don't know what you don't know, and what I mean by that is you have not seen yet what the potential is of you. No, really. Some of you in this room are just touching the surface of an expansion that is amazing. It goes beyond the 3D of you. It starts to become a bit multidimensional, and that is unusual to you. But I want to tell you that being in 3D is what you get when your DNA is not working at full potential. As the evolution of humanity starts to occur, you're going to see more and more unusual thinking. It started years ago with the children. That was a precursor, a warm-up for what's going to happen. The children are going to continue to be the leading edge of those who are different. There's still another wave of children with a whole different name starting to arrive on this planet who will have such a different concept of the way things ought to work. They're going to bring a more harmonious solution to difficult, if not impossible, problems. Things that you never thought of, they'll have. But meanwhile, the old souls of this planet, using the wisdom of the past and their Akash, are going to start changing both themselves and the planet. We have mentioned this. This could be an extension of the channeling of yesterday, but I don't want to call it part 2 because it stands on its own. It stands on its own. Dear ones, you are magnificent. And in the human body that you have now, some of you are just starting to see more. Some of you feel that perhaps your awareness is starting to shift because things are starting to become more complete for you. There's a few ahas for you. And you're wondering, why now and what is this? You're simply starting to awaken in a grander way than you did before. And why would that be? Because you get given an allowance in this new energy for something very special. Awareness levels are going up. That carries with it many things, including fear. Fear that you're a bit unusual. Fear that you might be losing it. Because when you step into the multidimensional pond, it's very different. Very different. But it's happening, even in this room. It's not a new energy for you, dear ones. It is an energy that you're revisiting and remembering.
You've been here before. I'm going to talk about that in a minute as well. Let's revisit something. Let's look at the history that you've just walked through. My partner has mentioned some of these dates in a timeline that is revolutionary. Revolutionary. The revolution is an energy. The revelation is that you are magnificent. 1987, the harmonic convergence. It was a precursor of what was to come. Truly, those who gathered around and celebrated that time didn't really know what was coming. It was almost like the beginning of the celebration of the awareness of the precession of the equinoxes was at hand. If you look at the timing of the precession of the equinoxes, we have said this before, we'll say it again, the astronomy of it, it's a 36-year window, 18 years up to the end of 2012 and 18 years out. And in that 36-year window, there is a grander potential of major shift than beyond it. And that is why there is some impatience when I say it's time to move. You got a few years left. You're in the last 18. You've used 4 of them. There's time left, and you're starting to take advantage of it. Many of you are starting to awaken to a slightly different reality. The one I've told you about last night is the reality that you deserve to be joyful. To love yourself enough to balance, and in that balance, you'll help the ones around you. If you're not in balance, you really can't do much. And that requires the wisdom of an old soul. 1987, just the beginning. You really didn't know what was coming. You weren't into that 18-year run-up. Not yet. You got close to it. Kryon comes in 1989. My partner awoke with my presence and didn't understand it, didn't acknowledge it, came along very, very slowly. It was 4 years before we really understood it. 1993 was the year of the first Kryon book. However, January 1992 is with the end of the Cold War. That is when the Soviet Union ceased to exist. The disarming started of Armageddon itself. Take a look at the timing of this. 89 to 92, then to 93, it was happening quickly. The first Kryon book happened almost immediately after the Soviet Union fell over. And that is when I told my partner to release the information. There would be no Armageddon, and there wasn't. And there wasn't. And there won't be. My partner went to Israel. And he channeled me many times. But the one that really got to him is when they took him to the valley of Armageddon, where it was all supposed to start and end. An ominous place. The guide took my partner aside and he said, "This is not a place I want to be long." The guide belonged there. He was a citizen of Israel. He lived in the land, and he said, "This is a place that is dark.
I hope we don't have to be here very long. The Israelis know. What a name. The Valley of the Armageddon. And I gave the channeling there, and I said, stand up tall and celebrate the fact that what was going to happen here never will. That's what you did. Then the run-up started in the 18 years going to the 2012 date of December 21. That's when the energy started to shift dramatically. There were many things because of the ripple of time and the potentials that had to fit into a scenario way before any of this took place. And now you understand the significance of those who would be doing things on the planet that would make great differences, like putting together the former enemies all over Europe into one coalition of trade. Something that began as a trade organization and then became an economic wonder. The former enemies for hundreds of years sharing the same currency, dropping their borders. I'll say this again to you. Do you think the EU is a failure? You're looking at a 50-year miracle. And it has to be now morphed into something that is better than it was. And you're seeing the extrapolations of the issues there that don't work into something that may. And the answer to some countries is to leave it alone, maybe to drop out of it. Others to say we can't have it yet. Others to say we want it, but. This isn't a failure. This is a recalibration of something amazing. You never did this, ever did this. Imagine putting together the strength of the enemies that were at each other hundreds of years. And suddenly they simply drop their borders and you just walk between them. That had to happen, dear ones, even before 1992. And it did. 15 years ago or so, the information of the indigo children happened. All within the parameters here of that 18-year window into the middle. The indigo children are simply children of new consciousness. They think differently. They act differently. They are the first wave of the evolution of consciousness. You're going to see more of this. Last night I told you that the old soul's task at this moment was multifold. There's 3 things I told you. Go listen to them. In order to cancel what we would call the ripple of doom, that feeling that it's still going to fail. You'd be 16 years out of the date that it was supposed to fail, and everyone's still saying it's going to fail. That you will destroy yourselves. That you can't help it. That's what humans do. Dear ones, that was the case. For over 50,000 years, that was the case. You've done it over and over. That was the case until now. Do you realize the barrier that you just crossed? Now I want to tell you something that's going on. This is not a long channeling, because what I'm about to tell you is a profound thing. Let's start at the beginning. With the evolution of the human being, one of the things that's going to start to occur is that you will have an Akash that starts to meld or join with your consciousness. It's part of growing up. A DNA that starts to become more efficient is one that's going to start working better. And working better means that it's going to start connecting as it always should have. There's a reason why you carry your past life information around. It's been discussed and discussed. The reason is, old soul, this shift. if you would make it past this, and you did, you would start receiving that which you learned from your Akash. In other words, the wisdom of the ancients that you are and that you carry, shaman, will start to manifest itself. And it's not going to do it with you walking around, writing books, working on stage, and being shamans and gurus. It's going to start in everyday life with masters walking the earth, taking care of their children, going to work, walking to the store, treating people differently, showing light that nobody has seen before. That's what's going to happen. Finding joy in their lives when all around there and all around them is not joyful. That's mastery. And that's what's going to start to occur, and it's going to start to be able to be done because of the field. And we've told you this before. You have got something happening around you that wants you to succeed with putting things together. It's the new physics, it's the new magnetics that will come and help you. You want to know where this is coming from? It's coming from you. It's coming from the Pleiadians. It's coming from the nodes and the nulls that were set here. It's coming from the crystalline grid. A scenario, a confluence of many things that are starting to come together right now for you. Many things. It's been a tough time for many, especially the last few years, especially in the Department of Health and Joy and all of these things. Why don't we just proclaim the end of that now? The end of that. It's gone. These are old energies that are now not going to affect you in the same way. All the things around you may stay the same, dear one, but your countenance is going to get above them. And that's what the old soul does. That's what the mastery is all about. Claiming the love of God inside of you as the torch that is the light of the world. You. Now what happens when the Akash starts to meld with consciousness? The first thing is obvious. There will be remembrance of the past. We have gone through this. There are many channels. My partner's even writing a book. But there's something missing. What comes after that? What comes next? How far does your Akash go? Now you would say, well, probably to the very first lifetime on this planet. You'd be right. We have talked about something briefly that is extremely esoteric and not understood. It shouldn't be. It is something to do with what I will call the accounting of souls on the planet. It's called the cave of creation. The metaphor is that each of you has your own crystalline, you might say, piece of God in there. We told you before that all the souls that ever would be on the planet are already there, ready to be awakened and born. Now, that's difficult. That sounds like predestination. It is not. It is potential. We also told you that each time you come and go, you visit this esoteric place, metaphorically. And the lifetime you had and everything you did is etched into the crystalline that is you. Hard to describe this, because everything we're telling you is in metaphors. It is not linear. And then we tell you, you come back and you pick up that lifetime and all the others. The crystal is a metaphor for remembering, and it's put into your DNA. That's part of the Pleiadian system that they put here. It's so that you can remember and store the past life information, and here you come into the planet with
with DNA that doesn't work well. And it just sits there, and it just sits there, and it just gathers there. Some of you feel some of it, but you're not really sure what it is. And now that's about to change. Now that's old information. What could be new? Now I'll tell you what's new. You see, that whole system is being recalibrated because you made it past the shift. It's part of what the crystalline grid is doing because the cave of creation lies within its field. I don't expect you to understand that, but I will tell you this. We have not said this before. Your Akashic record is now growing, and it's going to start to include where you came from before you got to Earth. Now, where do you think you came from? Dear ones, I would like to introduce you to your past. When one planet seeds another, the well of souls come from the planet that seeded you. You were Pleiadian. It's why you're so comfortable with 4 layers of Pleiadian DNA. You did this before. The souls in this room are so old, and there have been so many planets that you've done this before. Now, what happens when your Akash starts to awaken to a greater reality? A reality that is simply beyond Earth. Now, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we're really not. What does the Akash feel like when you start to sense it? It's not linear. You're not going to get names and faces. You're going to get feelings, intuitions, dreams. If the Akash starts to get large, for instance, if it includes your lives on another planet before you got here, what did I tell you about the Pleiadian civilization? Briefly, I told you about the 7 sisters, those 9 planets that you see 7 of. They have a civilization which is very, very old. Yours is very, very new. They've had 1 million years under their belt since they passed their marker, which was not a wobble, but it had to do with the stars. It always does. You were them. What do you think you learned before you got here? That is going to start to be felt, sensed, intuited. You won't recognize it. You won't know why. But here's how it manifests itself. You'll start to look at things and remember that you could control them. You wonder why you can't now. You start to expect things that are beyond anything a human being can currently do. And you'll wonder why you can't do it now. You'll see a failing body and you won't accept it because of what you could do before. And that starts to influence the 4D part of DNA you have now. It starts to then talk to that which is this planet instead of the last planet. It's going to enhance healing. You're going to feel it. You're going to know it. What happens when a human being looks at themselves and sees one thing and knows another? When you're told this or that and you know better. Because you know that in another reality, in another planet, you are able to do something. And that your whole body is saying, you should do it now. And there will be those who do it now. Because you carry in wisdom, knowledge, and a time when your DNA was working at 85%. 85%. When you could wish yourself somewhere else. When you become multidimensional anytime you wanted to. Where you could live for centuries if you wanted to. Where you could disappear into the cosmos and be part of it if you wanted to. And some of you are going to feel that. In other words, the mastery that you think is beyond anything and only reserved for a few, you're going to realize is still there and inside. Everything that ever was is inside your DNA. It's simply a matter of going and getting it. The idea that you have to work for something to be implanted into you is backwards. You may have to work at something to release what you have. It's already there. Everything is already there. Why don't you go get it? What happens with the human being is very interesting. Your brain, your heart, your pineal are all working together along with the field that wants harmony. And it starts to open boxes in your mind, in your consciousness, that allow you to do things you didn't think you could do. Now there will be those, even old souls, that say, well, that sounds great, but not me. And you know what? It won't be you. You just told your body you're not interested. The more you deny it, the more your body will cooperate with the denial. Do you understand this? If you're not on board, your body will say, you're not on board. In other words, your consciousness becomes king. Whatever you visualize and verbalize for you becomes you. That's how important this is, this message that I'm giving. What do you want to do? What do you really want to do? How would you like to live longer without the pain, without the suffering, and instead have energy and joy? Is that what you're telling your body? Or do you look in the mirror and say, woe is me? And your body says, woe is you. Because it will cooperate with whatever you give it. These are special times. They're times filled with more black and white than you've ever seen before. Have you noticed that your emotional ups and downs are getting larger? Have you noticed there's really no more fence sitting anymore? Nobody can keep secrets in the government anymore. You're having things exposed right in front of your face. You can see the white hats and the black hats very clearly. That is going to increase. And with that comes exactly what I'm telling you. Your body is listening. What part are you going to play, dear Pleiadian? What part are you going to play in the ascension of this planet? Start now. What are you telling yourself? What are you telling your body? What are you telling others? And I want you to watch something that you wouldn't expect. The more you verbalize the magnificence that you are, or what you are, not what you want to be, or not what you wish to be, the more you become it. The more healthy you complain about that you're not, you won't be. The healthier you say you are, you will be. This is because the body is simply sitting ready to obey the commands that you're giving it. Let me tell you something. You are in charge of everything inside you. Everything. Do you know what spontaneous remission is? It's the body listening and doing what it's told. Are you ready for that? You can control it all. You always have been able to. But now the Akash is starting to awaken and remember a time when all you had to do was think about it and it happened. That is a very high consciousness with incredible power. That is what is starting to occur. The Akash is actually starting to recalibrate to include past planetary experience. And this is going to cause some frustration in some of you, because you'll look at things and you'll say, why can't I change them? Because you remember you used to change them. That helps you to cognize what is possible, what is doable, instead of looking at things and saying, I can't, I won't. Instead it'll say, you used to.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. You sit on the cusp of major shift. Don't watch your news, because it will tell you differently. The news is still stuck in the rut of doom, just like the films you see. I told you last night, be prepared for some new scriptwriters, some new films to talk about the magnificence of the society called humanity. Writing stories around the shift, really, in ways you've never seen. You see, it's coming from new consciousnesses that were not part of the doom cycle and that have disengaged themselves from it completely. This is the new human. Get ready for this. It's going to happen slowly, in various ways. But get ready for dreams. Dreams that you can't explain, where you can fly. Dreams you can't explain, where anything that you can visualize can happen. And that you then have an example, and that others will look at you and say, how did you do that? And you would say, I just activated what I already have. And you do too. A catalyst for light on this planet. That's what you are. Kryon, you always give such uplifting messages. When are we going to see it? How about now? You're looking at God and saying, when are we going to get it? How about now? I'm looking at you and saying, when are we going to get it? We're going to get it when you cognize it and produce it. That's when we're going to get it. All of us. I'm part of the us. I'm crying in love with humanity. Watching a shift I've seen before. You did too. And that's in your Akash, dear ones. The last shift you went through, a long time ago in another place, it should ring with you. It's here again, it's here again, it's here again. We can do it, we can do it, we can do it. The world is poised on some beautiful changes when you get rid of the old cycles. Dark will eventually lose. You'll see a different kind of thinking. It's not going to be a Pollyanna earth. It's going to be a wise earth. There will be disagreements because there'll be different levels of wisdom. But it doesn't include killing each other. That's where you're headed. If you will pick up the gauntlet and create it. That's the message. It's a big one. That's what's going on. There'll be more. And so it is.